We start tonight with a report, one that hasn't been done before, about the cost of police payouts to cities in Minnesota, payouts as a result of police misconduct. These cases take a toll on people's lives, and they also take a toll on cities' bottom lines. Millions have been paid in the last decade across our state, according to this study done by Professor David Schultz at Hamline University. And the cities who paid the most, according to Dr. Schultz, are some of the biggest, which makes sense. John Croman spent the day going through this study. He's with us now. Hi, John.
Hey, Jana, this report does not include the $27 million settlement the city of Minneapolis made with the family of George Floyd. That came after the time frame for this study was over. But the most expensive item that did make this list was the city's $20 million payout to John Ruszczyk, who's the father of Justine Damon.
As the public, we have a right to know. We ought to know how much is being spent in tax dollars in terms of all this.
Hamline professor Dave Schultz set out 2 years ago to come up with a number that's hard to come by. How much has police misconduct cost the taxpayers?
What we don't know is how much money, how often, how many cities, what type of incidents are involved, what gives rise to it. And there's no state database that reports this. There's no national database.
Schultz worked with college students in the nonprofit Public Records Media, sent out this data practices questionnaire to 239 governmental entities asking what they paid out between 2010 and 2020 to settle claims and lawsuits. About 30% had done payouts for mistakes by law enforcement officers.
What we found was approximately 500 situations in which across the state of Minnesota, municipalities or governments paid out for police misconduct.
Minneapolis led the way with 177 incidents that led to payouts. Bloomington came in second with 126 and St. Paul third with 47.
This is neither pro-police nor anti-police, this report. For people who are pro-police, they can come back and say over a 10-year period, only 495 out of maybe millions of interactions. That's pretty good. For people who are, let's say, anti-police who want to reform, they say 495, there's some problems here.
Accurate data is key. This report, unfortunately, does not provide an avenue to do that.
That's Bloomington Police Chief Booker Hodges, who took issue with the report, noting something you see in the spreadsheet. A lot of the claims his city reported were for property damage, not excessive force.
If you look at the data, 53 of those claims resulted in no payments to claimants. Furthermore, the majority of the claims were not allegations of misconduct, meaning they were not allegations that we were out here using force on people.
The dollar amounts are in dispute. Schultz's report puts the price tag at $160 million, with Minneapolis responsible for $136 million of that. But the city points to its own officer payout dashboard and says their count for that time period is actually $36 million, exactly $100 million off. Schultz already acknowledged that this maiden voyage may have some calculation errors.
This is what came up when we did the numbers several months ago. We triple-checked it. Was there a glitch in the system? Was there a mistake? Was there an inputting error? There very well could be. I would love people to sort of say, here's stuff that we found in it that you didn't find, or here's mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. Because again, I confess and say, first crack at a project that took over 2 years to gather information.
So if you go with the city's figures, it would be $36 million from Minneapolis out of $60 million statewide in a 10-year period versus $136 out of 160. Schultz argues that still gives us more information than we've had in the past on these things. Now, some state lawmakers, in fact, say they're on board with the idea of requiring cities to report those settlements to the legislature or the post board for a common figure. And Jana, Chief Hodges is one of Dave Schultz's graduate students from Hamline, so they'll probably have a conversation.
Look at that fun John Croman fact. But the point being that no one's collecting this data officially, and it's kind of like David Schultz is saying, well, you should, because we need to fill in the gaps.
Right. And the city of Minneapolis has that dashboard, which you can go case by case and see who they paid it to, which is really good, but there's no statewide version of that.
All right. Well, one thing that study can't pin down is how much money is coming from payouts and how much is coming from third-party insurance. A lot of smaller cities pay into one bigger trust fund, which pays out when needed. But the money going in and out of that fund isn't publicly available. And that's the stuff you want to know. How much of your money is going into this?